Okay, as we saw in the unemployment part one, we were able to define unemployment. We were able to see the different types of unemployment, and we were able to see the cost of unemployment, that is the social cost, the cost to the state treasury, and we also saw the economic cost. We're going to continue today with the benefit of unemployment. What can is there benefit or are there benefits? Yeah, we say in every dark cloud there's always a silver lining. So unemployment also has some benefits. So the very first benefit is greater flexibility. You will agree with me that if, let's say, you are a producer and you have some monies that you have kept, you have spare capital, you still have some resources that are kept, that are still lying idle, it's easier for you to be flexible than when you have exhausted all your resources. When you have exhausted all your resources, you are not flexible. So when the economy still has idle resources, especially human resources still lying idle, it's easier for the economy to be flexible, to be able to change. An economy will be capable of expanding rapidly and easily if there are some idle resources still left. So unemployment makes an economy very, very flexible. The next is that it reduces cost push inflation. What is cost push inflation? The persistent increase in the general price level of goods and services caused by a persistent increase in the cost of production. And we should understand that the main cause of cost push inflation is wage spiral, is when the increase in wages. When wages starts increasing, the cost of production, because wages make up the greatest cost of production. So when wages starts increasing, what happens? It causes the cost of production to increase, and as a result, it will be reflected on the prices of goods and services. So during inflation, remember, and during unemployment, when unemployment is great, remember at that level, the wage rate of labor will start going down. The wage rate is going to go down. Why? Because there will be an excess in the supply of labor, but the demand for labor will increase. That will cause wages to fall, and as a result, it's going to be a remedy to the cost push inflation. The next is that it causes labor to be very, very much efficient. Remember, when you are a worker and you are aware of the unemployment rate in the country, you tend to give in your best so that you cannot be easily replaced. You tend to give in your best so that you become indispensable. So it causes workers to be very, very efficient for fear of being replaced by other workers, since the labor market is quite competitive. The next is that it increases, it makes our labor to be more creative. By the time you take your files and move from one company to the other looking for a job and you don't find, you now start thinking of alternative means of generating income. You start thinking of how to generate income. That's the same thing that happens in Nigeria. You see, when the unemployment rate, because of the population increase, became so alarming in Nigeria, Nigerians started forgetting about office work and they started creating in the arts. They have created a lot, their comedy, their movies, all because they needed to think out of the box to create employment for themselves. So it might also reduce voluntary unemployment. It will also reduce it. This is because the government will not be able to have money enough to take care of the unemployment masses, to pay them unemployment benefits, to give them social services. So as a result, they will tend to get involved in income generating activities. So those are some of the benefits of unemployment. Now, the next thing we are going to see will be the causes. What may be the causes? What might be the causes of unemployment? So the very first cause is wage increase. Wage increase through trade union activities. When trade unions start pressing on firms to increase wages for their members, when these firms start increasing these wages, what happens? The firms realize that there is an increase in their cost of production, and which will cause their profit margin to fall. And as their profit margin falls, what happens? They become discouraged and start sending off some workers. Because they need to pay workers and also buy other resources with this profit. with their money. So when they are increasing now these wages due to trade union activities, they now start experiencing a fall in their they start experiencing a fall in their profit, and as a result, their investment is going to fall. You see, they are also going to reduce the size of production, because remember, a fall in profit discourages production. The next is inflation. What is inflation? We have to define inflation as a persistent increase in the general price level of goods and services. This inflation can cause demand deficient unemployment, or we call it mass unemployment. Because when there is inflation, the price of goods and services starts increasing. What happened to demand? Demand starts falling. And when demand starts falling, what happened? Companies start shrinking. As they start shrinking, they start laying off some workers, start removing some workers, and that will bring an increase in the unemployment rate. The next will be a fall in aggregate demand. This is almost the same thing with inflation. When the aggregate demand starts falling, what happens? Companies will start realizing a fall in their sales, and their revenue will also fall. As a result, they cannot be able to employ more workers. Remember, one of the limitations of the demand for labor is what? Capital. So you see, when they start experiencing a fall in their revenue, they will not be able to employ more workers, and as a result, the unemployment rate is going to increase. The next is social security payments. When the government starts taking care of unemployed workers, start giving them unemployment benefits, it makes some of them very, very lazy. It makes some of them very, very lazy, and they start depending on these benefits, and they can stay home. So when the government starts giving these benefits, it doesn't give them incentive to work, because they believe that when they sit home, the government still take care of them. So why would they want to work? You see, so this causes them to become unemployed and redundant. The next is, it brings about the next cause of unemployment is also seasonal changes. This is also the cause of seasonal unemployment. Seasonal changes, as the seasons in Cameroon, I want to be precise with Cameroon. We have the rainy season, the dry season. When the rainy season comes up, those who are involved in the production of goods and services that are mostly used during the rainy season, they are employed. When the rainy season moves away and the dry season comes up, what happens? Those that were employed during the rainy season become unemployed. And then now, you see, this change in seasons will always cause unemployment. We move to the next, technology. As technology starts changing, as technology increases, it keeps increasing. What happens? Some jobs start becoming obsolete, start becoming less important. Take, for instance, those who were involved in the repair of typewriters. We don't use those things anymore. We have computers now. So those who were employed to repair or use these typewriters in companies, they can not operate computers. What happened? We lay them off. Why? Because that technology has passed. We don't use that anymore. So technological changes can also cause unemployment. So we also have government policy. We have the government policy through the minimum wage legislation. When the government puts up a minimum wage legislation, remember, the minimum wage legislation, or the minimum wage, is the wage that is imposed by the government or other government officials above the equilibrium wage. When the government judges the equilibrium wage to be too low, so the government imposes a minimum wage. When the government imposes minimum wage, companies will not be able to meet up with these minimum wages, because they will experience a fall in their profit, and as a result, they start laying off workers. So these are some of the causes of unemployment. Now, the next thing we want to see is how would the government remedy this situation of unemployment? How would the government remedy unemployment? Or we can actually say policy measures to remedy unemployment. The very first is the fiscal policy. Fiscal policy. The fiscal policy, you say, is a deliberate manipulation of the government budget, or the government income and government expenditure, so to meet some policy objectives. Now, there are policy objectives like the budget surplus. In this case, the government has decided to do what? Spend less and impose a lot of tax. So when the government imposes high taxes and the government is spending less, what happens? Tax is a withdrawal. Why government spending is an injection. So everything being equal, what happened? The income in the circulating in the economy is going to fall, and when it falls, aggregate demand will fall. And as aggregate demand falls, mass unemployment occurs. Also, the high taxes will lead to an increase in the cost of production, which will still again reduce firms' profit, and as a result, they will start laying off some workers. So when the government wants to remedy this particular inflation, the government can adopt like budget deficits, which causes the government to pump in a lot of money in the economy, which will increase the purchasing power of consumers. And as it increases the purchasing power of consumers, aggregate demand will increase. And when aggregate demand increases, what happens? Everything being equal, there's going to be an increase in employment. The next will be the monetary policy. When we talk about the monetary policy, we talk about the use of instruments of monetary policies to do what? Regulate the supply of money in the economy. The government can adopt a monetary policy that will increase the supply of money in the economy, which we call expansionary monetary policy. When these monetary policies, when there is expansionary monetary policy, it therefore means that there will be enough money in the economy, which will again increase aggregate demand. And when it increases aggregate demand, everything being equal, there will be an increase in employment, because firms will have to increase their output so as to meet up with this increase in demand, and as a result, they are going to employ more workers. Now, we also have supply side policies. When we talk about supply side policies, the new classical economists, they believe that increasing aggregate demand will not, in the long run, reduce unemployment. That's actually what they are actually thinking, but will cause inflation to rise. Yeah, because when there is an increase in demand, what happens? In the future is going to lead to what they call demand pull inflation. So, according to them, they instead propose that the government should look for ways to do what? Subsidize producers so that they can increase their production. So when subsidize producers, and producers want to increase their production, everything being equal, there will be an increase in employment, because they want to hire more laborers to do what? Do the work. So there are other solutions to this unemployment, but we are going to stick with this very few. So there are some questions that you're going to see on the comment base of this video, which I want you to attempt some of these questions, and they are going to go a long way to help you. So stay close to the next video. Make sure you subscribe and like. So in the next video, I'm going to be treating other topics. Thank you. Bye-bye.